Well, first of all, the Mardi Gras comes with their horses, you know. The captain's gonna have to ask. They ask politely if they can come, and then they act unpolitely. They ride down on the farmstead, and the farmer gives them a chicken, and they'll chase the chicken all out in the fields and all that, catch it. That's part of the fun. And the music will be playing along the route for about 8 hours.
To see the younger people still doing it. We have some guys that run that's 50 years old. We have, you know, the guys who lie by their age so they can come and run. You know?
Centered in the community, Mardi Gras is typically closed to outsiders. But the sheer spectacle of revelers on horseback draws audiences from beyond Louisiana. However, the one aspect of Louisiana's horseplay that has harnessed the most attention is horse racing. Over 70,000 professional races have been won by Cajun and Creole jockeys through the years.
This is my bobblehead of Super Saver and Mind That Bird, Calvin Borel. There's one of Rachel too. There's a limited edition. We didn't get one of those. This comes from the McElhaney family at Avery Island. He gave each one of the boys, Calvin included, a bottle of their own special name. I have a glass. Let's see, where's my glass? For every year he rode in the Derby. This comes from Churchill Downs. This has Calvin on it. Super Saver, third Kentucky Derby winner. Down here we have a Kentucky Oaks glass, autographed. This is a Breeders' Cup hat. This is at Mammoth Park. And his goggles, of course, he autographed us when he came for the Christmas parade. This is a hat of Churchill Downs. This is Calvin when he was young. This is Breeders' Cup on Street Sense. We have tons of newspaper articles. Churchill Downs calendars. We have the book, which is a good selection. Everybody should read this. It's funny. These are programs from the Derbies. Kentucky Oaks. This is the Kentucky Derby. He's on the cover of Blood Horse. This is a program from the Oaks, which Rachel ran in. And this is from the Black-Eyed Daisy with Rachel. That's the Preakness, I want to say. And here's my real copy of the Sports Illustrated. In his, what you call it, robe. They walk around in robes all the time. My name is Diane Borel. I'm married to Carol Borel, brother to Calvin Borel.
I'm Carol Borel from Catahoula. Calvin is my little brother.
Coming from such a small place, from a family who had hardly anything, who worked for everything they got, it's a dream come true. He keeps saying unbelievable. Well, it is, yeah. His dad was a sugarcane farmer. Calvin drove the tractor, pulled the potatoes. Everyone did their share and went to school and came home and worked, or didn't go to school and worked.
He was more, you know, want to ride than us, you know. That's how, I guess that's what he liked, because he was used to ride that little horse Charlie, we call Charlie. Used to run him back and forth in the pasture. You know, we play cowboy and Indian with the horses. We used to ride the pigs sometimes. Oh yeah, and the goats. Oh yeah, we catch them and ride them. Then the cows. Yeah, you ride that tire, you know, you got a tire on the side. You used to ride on there like a horse when we go to the track, when you couldn't, you know, when you were small. Watching the races, you know, that's what he wanted to do, ride. That's all he did in the house too. He rode the sofas. Oh yeah, on each end. Oh, he was bad. He liked that.
That's the main thing that he wanted to do. he had told us, he says, Diane, I want y'all to come to the Derby. I said, why? He said, well, I'm going to win the Derby. I said, boo-boo. Say that about all your horses. He says, no. He says, I'm telling you. He says, I'm going to win the Derby. He says, y'all can get y'all tickets now. So we did.
You know, we never went there before, you know. Feel like a king.
Calvin called us the morning on the way back. He says, I have something better than that. Going to the White House, I said, what? White House where? He says, the White House. I'm going to meet the Queen and have dinner with the President. They had to prep him on the plane. It took him hours for him to go through this etiquette book, and he went on to eat. He really enjoyed himself. Oh, yeah. It looked funny in the tux, too.
I'm so blessed, you know, it's unbelievable. I got a beautiful wife and mom and dad that love me. I got family, all my family loves me, so they're very happy for me. I could die tomorrow and I'm happy. I mean, I did more than I ever can. You know, like I said, my dream was to ride the Derby, much less win 3 out of 4.
They are in the gate, and they're off in the Kentucky Derby. And Saturday is right there. On the far outside, Great Hunter is launching a bid. He's moving wide as they approach the top of the stretch. And there's Street Sense with a huge move on the far turn. And Calvin Burrell saving ground every step of the way. But it's hard spun to catch as they come off the turn.
About 40 yards from the wire, I knew I was going to win. And I kind of caught my head, you know, and not paying attention to the race. And the ground was shaking. I'll never forget telling my wife that the ground just shook. When I stood up, it shook, you know. And then finally I caught my head, you know, and looked in the grandstand and said, God, what a feeling. I mean, I had goosebumps. This is most probably the greatest moment of my life.
Sensation to win the Derby by 2. Hard spun.
Calvin, you've won over 4,000 races, but this is your first Kentucky Derby. What are your feelings?
I just want to thank my brother to get me here. I wish my mama and daddy was here. This is the most greatest moment of my life.
It's got to be a great feeling with that 1/8 of a mile to go, knowing you're going to win the Kentucky Derby, a childhood dream for Calvin Burrell.
All the glory for Calvin Burrell. The Louisiana Cajun has found a home in Kentucky.
You know, my brother always taught me the shortest way around the racetrack is on the fence, you know. And you're going to live and die by the fence.
And they're off in the Kentucky Derby. Regal Ransom and Pioneer of the Nile.
I'm very aggressive. You know, when I get on a horse, I ride my race to win.
Hard down the center of the track, and Papa comes right there too. Down toward the inside, coming on through. That is Mind That Bird now is coming on to take the lead as they come down to the finish. And a spectacular upset. Mind That Bird has won the Kentucky Derby. An impossible result here. Mind That Bird and Calvin Burrell with a huge upset. The second biggest upset in Derby history.
Calvin, oh my God.
I love you, sweetie.
You won the Oaks and the Derby. You just said I love you to who?
My mom and daddy.
Who are no longer with us.
I wish you were here. Oh, Lord. I could only be here to see what I accomplished in my life.
Ready for the start. And they're off in the Kentucky Derby. On a left and stoppage in front. Super Saver Calvin Burrell.
It helps me to know my horses, you know, and just, I love to get on my horses in the morning. And you get a, you know, like a bind with them, and it helps.
And it is Super Saver, a late resident Super Saver, and Calvin Burrell, the unflappable Calvin Burrell, riding that rail to victory. Calvin Burrell strikes again. He looked as if he had tears in his eyes when he came on the track on Super Saver and they played my old Kentucky home.
No jockey in the history of horse racing has ever won 3 of 4 derbies consecutively. What is your secret?
We got to keep that to ourselves, baby.
You know, when I first started, I was about 7, 8 years old in bush tracks, and bush track, I mean, it made me. If you can ride in the bush tracks, believe me, you can ride anywhere, you know, because anything goes in the bush track, so you had to be aggressive, you know, you had to, you know, lay it on the line and do things where you can't do in a recognized track, and you know if you need it, it's there.
For over 100 years, rural South Louisiana was dotted with unsanctioned, unrecognized racing tracks. These match tracks served as a breeding ground for world-class jockeys.
There was nothing that I would have done. I mean, I quit all sports. I quit baseball, I quit football, I quit everything to ride racehorse. And I spent the summer at Mr. B.B. Hebert's, is his name, his house, and right next to the bush track called Cajun Downs. A friend of mine that's been my friend since then, Calvin Borrell, we rode every weekend together. We were both 11 years old, and we rode every race together. We rode every Sunday and every match track that was open. It was just a pure fun and enjoyment of horse racing, period. There was no business side of it, if you will. There was just racing. And I just thank God every day that I was a part of it, because I cherish those days, some of the funnest days of my life.
I also started from Louisiana, like all of us Cajun guys, in Acadiana Downs, quarter pole, anything, any race, any horse, anytime. Anything went. There was no stewards, no one to patrol the races, so a lot went on, and I think that defines who we are now as Cajun riders. It made us a lot tougher. So that was our everyday. We had a passion. That's how we grew passion for it. We didn't watch many sports. Obviously, football players, basketball players were our idols. Our idols were Randy Romero and Eddie Delahousie. That was our idols. They were from our part of the country, and they went out in the world and made it. So that was, we kind of patterned ourselves after those guys there.
Me and Robbie Alvarado were really, really close as kids or whatever. My first race on the bush track was at Acadiana Downs. Garland Godfrey, everybody from Louisiana knows him as Tojo. He said, well, I got a horse for you to ride for the first time. I said, fine, here's some tack. I gathered tack from a few people and around the house and stuff like that. And as far as the danger, it's just, you never know what you're gonna get on at the bush track. And you never know who's gonna be right next to you. You might have Robbie or Mark Guidry or Shane Sellers, but then you might have some Tom, Dick, or Harry you don't even know if they have ever rode a race before. All over the country, people like Louisiana riders, because not just to say that we came off of learning on the bush tracks, but I mean, we did, and people see that. That's why I think there's a lot of good riders that come. Like, we go elsewhere and adapt like very quick because we used to like crazy riding.
You know, you get there on a Sunday morning, you hustled, went around asking people, begging people to ride their horses for $2 maybe. You might get $2 or might even get stiff for it. You know, so you learn so much as a horseman, you know, because we wrapped horses, cleaned many stalls. Then was able to ride. You know, now you're ready to ride after you done cleaned 100 stalls. But it, you know, it was all a learning process, and it made you a horseman, you know, instead of just a rider. We rode at Karen Crow a lot, Karen Crow Raceways, Clos-Josse, Broussards, Derby Downs. We go to Claymont's. They had a track in Henderson at Pat's, Lake Charles, Eunice. We went all over.
It was crazy. It was plumb crazy. Never a moment without a whole bunch of crazy excitement. I'm a cow man. And a real cowboy doesn't have to be born a cowboy. There's cowboys today that are rodeo cowboys and born from the city, ride a bull like a tick. But it's a different kind of cowboy than what I am. I was born riding calves. Papa always had cattle. But believe me, you put two cowboys together, one can tell the other one real quick. I'm the real deal. I should have worn my hat. In 1967 or 68, I retired from farming because I wasn't a very good farmer. And we bought a set of racing gates. It held 7 horses, and they were set right up between these 2 oak trees. And I named it Lindsay Downs. My papa was Lindsay Brown.
Get him up. No. Way up, Cecil. No.
All right, wait, let me get a stroke.
Wait, I don't have no mane.
Grab you.
Okay, I'm ready.
Ready? brother Coon, who's an old jockey from, let's see, Coon 74, and he started jockeying in the catch weight, where the lighter the jockey is what you wanted. And in Bose, his son, he was also light. He was a catch weight jockey.
Every Sunday afternoon, I'd go to the races, make my little 50 cents or my dollar, sometimes 3. I missed a lot of baseball games in the pasture, going to make my little dollar, but I did it. I didn't know, I really didn't know which one I liked best, but the dollar made me make up my mind.
Sundays were it was an adventure for us as little boys. Mm-hmm. Now, in between, boats would ride, but mostly the Shetland races were first. Daddy was the gate man, and the gate man is the most hated person in the track, because if you have 4 or 5 horses in a race, only one wins, and it's the gate man's fault. Every time there was a cascara or a fight or just a general upheaval, they were always wanting to kill Daddy. So we were kind of used to it. Oh, look, Coon's gonna have to fight again. But they'd never fight him. He had a bullwhip, and he'd crack it. And they'd say, come on, you mad? Come on, let's go. Oh, and then they'd kick the dirt. So generally, we were pretty confident that he wasn't gonna get killed today.
I watched my daddy smoke about a half a pack of cigarettes in 5 minutes one time. I was 7 years old, just had learned how to ride on a jockey saddle, you know, the little short stirrups. The man came up to me and said, Coon, let him ride. When he started working those cigarettes, I never saw a cigarette burn so fast. No, you want to? And I said, yeah. And he didn't want me to. Ended up riding.
A lot of kids my age in this part of Louisiana like to ride horses. A lot of my friends are good riders. The thing I enjoy about racing is winning. When I win a race, I really feel good. When I lose a race, I'm not as good, but not real bad. Don't tell me how to ride. I know how to ride. Let me ride the wheel. I ain't gonna know.
I mean, my first chew of tobacco was right here. We snuck in Cecil's truck and stole some Red Man or something. We climbed on top of this barn, and we would chew it, and we would spit off the back and watch it drip. And I remember getting sick, and I said, oh, I feel good. I had to go home, and Coon brought me home. Y'all probably knew, I don't know. It was a fun way to grow up.
Yeah, somebody had to repair all this stuff. Oh, we saw some at 7, 8, 10 years old. And it was kind of a hatchery for little jockeys. We had a lot of little jockeys come from this country. Ronald Ordwine, Randy Romero, Eddie Delahousie, Mark Guidry, Calvin, the Louvier boys, the Sam boys. On Friday nights, we'd make a supper, a free supper, and people would enter their horses. Cajun people, after they get a few drinks, their horses run faster. And the women are prettier. Somebody says his horse is better than the other one. A lot of money changed hands. We would sell cow cutters on anything with a 3-horse race or more.
Okay, the next heat is going to be heat number 6. We have 5 horses going a half a mile. We're going to sell the first horse, Side B. All right, boys, I'm going to third. I'm going to get 5 to the bid, and I get 10, sir. At 10, 15, I'm going to get 10. I'm going to get 15, 20. At 20 to the bid, and I get 5.
Had a dance hall, and then we had a poker game going on and a bourrée game going on. Usually the women played bourrée and the men played poker. I got some big money. It was 90% French. Just about everybody spoke French in them days, blacks and whites. They had rules, but it was not written. If they said catch weight, that meant just as long as you had a jockey on it. If you said no jockey, it meant no jockey. They'd run them with either a little beer can with 2 or 3 rocks in them to rattle on the horse to make him run faster. Beer cans, chickens. We've been through a lot of wild things.
And this was an open track. It was the beginning of the end of the rails. Rails means a set of wooden planks between each horse to where they don't run into each other. It was the new deal. And from here, if they ran good enough or fast enough, they would go on to Evangeline Downs.
Then head over to the casino, because the casino side of the property never, and I mean never, closes. It's open 24/7 every day of the year.